Lauren Zenzie live for us this morning with the latest on where the investigation stands. Lauren, what do you know?
Keith and Margot, after a horrific day Saturday afternoon, starting with the shooting of a 3-year-old, and a few hours later, just a couple blocks away, a 16-year-old shot and killed right on Magnolia Street. Police say now that they have more surveillance evidence that the investigation is in fact progressing rapidly, and police are saying in the passenger seat, in the front seat of the vehicle, and he climbed over the driver of the vehicle, which was Randall's mom, and fled the scene at that point. So they said that the 3-year-old was not the intended target. And just a few hours later, shots rang out nearby where police found a 16-year-old shot and killed on Magnolia Street behind a 2-family home. Hartford police have now confirmed these 2 cases are in fact related. Now, Hartford police have not yet said how exactly the 2 incidents are related, but they said based on the abundance of evidence of the 2 cases and the surveillance video, they do believe that these two cases are in fact related. Now, Keith and Margot, they also said that they may be releasing the surveillance video as early as today. So of course we will keep everyone up to date, both on air and online. And you can also find us on the Fox 61 News app. But for now, in Hartford, Lauren Zenzie, Fox 61 News.
Lauren and I, we were both with the chief yesterday as that investigation, that discussion over that video unfolded. So as we obviously learn more, if that comes our way, we of course will share. Lauren, we'll check back in with you in just a little bit. Meanwhile,
Lauren Zenzie. Lauren, good morning. What do we know at this point?
Well, Tim and Erica, you just heard Chief Jason Thody here at the Hartford Police Department say in an interview yesterday that he did confirm that these 2 cases were in fact related, but he did say that he is not comfortable yet releasing, as of yesterday at least, releasing the details into how they are related. But they said that the surveillance video and in other means, they do believe that these 2 cases did. Now, like I said earlier, Chief Jason Thody has not yet confirmed how these 2 cases are related. But he did say, Tim and Erica, he was describing to us yesterday morning about how the individual that was the intended target, if you think of the car, the 3 children were in the backseat. Randall Jones Jr. and his 2 sisters were in the backseat. The mother was in the driver's seat, and then the male that was the intended target was in the front passenger seat. They said when the car pulled up next to the passenger side of the vehicle, the male in the back seat of the Honda Accord rolled down his window and actually reached out to shoot into the intended victim, and that's when that person climbed over Randall's mom and out the window, and that's when they fled the scene. Now, Hartford police did tell us yesterday that they have interviewed this individual, but they haven't released how he is connected with Randall Jones Jr. and his relation to him either. So we'll be hopefully getting that information today. They also said that they may be releasing the surveillance video from the streets of Hartford today. So we'll be keeping you up to date both on air and online. But for now, in Hartford, Lauren Zenzie, Fox 61 News.
Lauren, thanks so much. Such a heartbreaking story. In front of the Hartford Police Department, Keith McGilvery has reaction at the Vigil site last night, and we're starting with Lauren, who has the latest on the investigation.
Tim and Erica, just a devastating story to be reporting on. 2 children in the city of Hartford shot, killed here right on the streets of Hartford in broad daylight, just a few hours apart. And now Hartford police are telling us that these 2 individual scenes are in fact connected. Just 2 devastating events happening just hours apart. Now, Reverend Brown joined us on the Fox 61 Morning News yesterday. He was the individual, one of the people that scheduled the vigil for Randall Jones last night. And he was telling us that when he went to the scene of where Randall was killed, he actually heard the gunshots ring out on Magnolia Street. Just a devastating event. Now, we are also joined by Fox 61's Keith McGilvery, who is live at the scene of the vigil. Keith, I assume and I can only imagine that the love is continuing to pour out and the vigil is continuing to grow.
Lauren Zenzie, she's live. It looks like now inside the police department, Lauren? Where are you?
Yes, we are definitely not outside anymore. They don't bring these chairs outside. We are actually in Chief Thody's office right now. I'm joined by the Hartford Police Chief right now. Good morning.
Good morning.
You were at the vigil last night. Keith McGilvery is on the scene of that right now. He was discussing the mayor and the people that showed up were very, very emotional. What could you tell us about the scene?
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Time and time again, the fall and the spring, the nicer weather, crime does go up. But also, you were mentioning to me right before this, stolen vehicles is a huge issue when it comes to violent crime.
Yeah, I think more than we've seen in the past. Our last homicide a couple weeks back, there was 3 or 4 stolen vehicles involved in that homicide. Countless shootings, shots fired incidents that don't necessarily make the news. But, these incidents where we find that shots are being fired either in the air or at another vehicle, 99% of the time, those are stolen cars. Those are cars that are stolen out of the suburbs with fobs in them. They're stolen by very young people, some that have been caught and arrested, 2, 3, 4, as many as 5 times, and have been back out to be able to do it again. It is a huge problem, and the nexus between those stolen cars and violence is clear.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Chief Thody, I really thank you so much for taking the time. I know you have a lot of work to do, and all the investigators have a lot of work to do to bring justice, and I know a lot of people are waiting for this.
We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. You have heard it right here on Fox 61. We're live with the chief this morning. Lauren Zenzie, Fox 61 News.
Lauren, thanks so much. And just to reiterate,
within the last hour or so, you sat down with the police chief, Jason Thody, to get an update on where things stand. If folks did not catch it live on the Fox 61 Morning News, what did you learn?
Keith, Chief Jason Thody was saying how crucial and how much information they were able to gain going to the vigil last night. They said while it was devastating, they were urging people at the vigil, if you saw something, say something. If you know anything about the child, the victim, the person that fled the scene, the suspect that they are still looking for, they are urging people to come out And Chief Jason Thody also telling us that not only did they use surveillance video from the city, the convenience store, but they also got private surveillance video as well, Tim and Erica. So they are very confident that they are going to be able to find this person who killed that poor 3-year-old boy.
Now, Lord, I know they're continuing to ask for tips, but did the chief talk at all about the surveillance footage that they've gotten and exactly how the incident unfolded?
So Chief Thody was talking to us about the surveillance footage today and yesterday, and he had a similar reaction to it both days. He said that the 3-year-old was not the intended target, and the surveillance video that they are hoping to release in the coming days will show just that. Now, the 3 children, Randall Jones Jr. and his 2 sisters were sitting in the back seat, their mother in the driver's seat, and then the unidentified male in the front passenger seat. Now, Chief Thody telling us that when the car, the stolen black Honda Accord, pulls up to the scene, pulls right up on the passenger side of Randall Jr.'s mom's car. The person in the back seat, they said, rolled down the window and reached out with the gun, and that's when the unidentified male climbed over Randall Jr.'s mom and fled the scene that way, and that is why the chief said that the bullet hit the 3-year-old, and that is when Randall Jr.'s mom, and then she drove him to the hospital where unfortunately he succumbed to his injuries. But he said that the video surveillance, Tim and Erica, was very obvious that this was not intended to hit the 3-year-old, but regardless of the situation, it did.
Okay, Lauren Zenzie reporting live from outside the Hartford Police Department. Lauren, thank you.
Hartford with the latest on these connected incidents and how the community is reacting. And Lauren, we do know that these 2 shootings, police are saying they are connected.
Tim and Erica, they haven't exactly disclosed how these 2 shootings are connected, but they say there is a significant amount of evidence that has come into the police department that makes them think that these 2 are in fact related. 3-year-old Randall Jones Jr. was shot and killed on Saturday afternoon, and just a few short hours later, 16-year-old was shot and killed just a few blocks away when there were tons of cops right in that vicinity. Now, this is bringing a lot of call to action, especially to the police department and the government. And that executive director of Connecticut Against Gun Violence telling me that money, the federal dollars, the state dollars, can't just be put into people on patrol. They need to be put into these community efforts in getting these guns out of these people's hands and getting gun violence down. Now, like we said, this is nothing new. We also had the opportunity to speak with Hartford Police Chief Jason Thody, who said there has been an aggressive call to action here in the area. Now, while investigators were on scene of the 3-year-old shooting near the convenience store, gunshots rang out on Magnolia Street, just blocks away where 16-year-old Jamari Preston was killed. This is also while an abundance of officers were in the scene. So police and this organization stressing that this is not just an issue coming from police officers patrolling the areas. It's just a far bigger issue than that. And they do say that the funding and that an executive order does need to be made. So we'll be keeping you updated on air and online with any new information as it becomes available. This is a developing case, and as the police have told us, it is developing quickly. But for now, I'm going to send things over to Fox 61's Keith McGilvery, who is live at the scene of the vigil. Keith, I can imagine, I heard that you were speaking to other people, and it's just devastating to hear people's stories about how they were connected to this 3-year-old and also how this is affecting them.